Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. An interesting debate brewing between two prominent figures on Bahamas' unemployment rate. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 5th May 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Bahamas' Minister of Labor and Immigration defends the unemployment rate after comments by the governor of the central bank. ZNS News has more.
Well, the Labor and Immigration Minister also rejecting Governor of the Central Bank John Rowles' projections that the unemployment rate could be higher than it was pre-pandemic. Now, during the height of COVID-19, unemployment was estimated to be above 20%, while the last labor force survey in December 2019 pegged the jobless rate in New Providence alone at 10.7%. Rowles' figures admittedly were provided with the absence of official statistics.
I'm not sure where he's getting this information from, but it would appear to me that the economy is opened. Persons are working in significant numbers. I know Bahamians who have 2 and 3 jobs. But again, we cannot say these things unless we are supported by scientific, comprehensive approach, because it is subjective.
Now, results of a labor force survey have not been released since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, but Bell insists it is highly unlikely that those figures are higher.
I think it is comparative. I wouldn't necessarily say it's lower, but definitely I know it cannot certainly be higher. And because the economy has opened and we have one thing that is high on this government's agenda is job creation. And I think you can look all around the country and you could see the economy has opened, jobs are available in every sector, particularly in the construction industry.
HGP's Antonio Day reports on Guyana's Vice President Barrett Jackdale's 2022 promise to establish a petroleum commission.
Right now, the ministry operates as the technical body, but in the future, we will examine a commission. So that's still on the cards, but it is not like on the verge of. Right?
Last year, Jagdeo said the government will ensure that the Petroleum Commission will comprise of personnel equipped with the technical knowledge of the industry. He acknowledged that the Petroleum Commission is critical to any government's regulatory architecture. But in the same breath, he said the absence of such a body in Guyana does not mean that the sector will be mired in corruption.
Petroleum Commission is not a safeguard against corruption. It's utter nonsense. We acknowledge in this article that there are lots of work on the regulatory side. We made it clear that a new PSA has to be put in place. We're working on that.
The Petroleum Commission regulates and oversees the exploration, development, and production of petroleum resources in Guyana. The establishment of the Commission was a key recommendation of the Natural Resource Fund Act passed in 2017 to provide a legal framework for the management of the country's oil revenues. The government is reviewing Guyana's current Petroleum Commission bill, which will pave the way for the establishment of the Commission, underscored by the General Secretary at his Thursday last party press conference.
Forward with 2 elements of that framework. We have done several already. The 2 that we are working on the PSC and the legislation, the Petroleum Act.
Natural Resources Shadow Minister David Patterson has called on the government to expedite the appointment process and ensure that the commission is fully operational as soon as possible. He told this newscast that this appointment will ensure transparency and accountability to take its course when managing the country's natural resources. Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
In the meantime, Tiana Cole of HGP News tells us that the full court has granted former President David Granger's appeal against High Court Judge Navindra Singh's ruling to waive a pre-trial review in the $2.6 billion lawsuit against 3 daily newspapers and a public relations consultant.
Former President David Granger's $2.6 billion lawsuit against 3 daily newspapers and a public relations consultant has now been referred to Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George for her to assign another judge to conduct the pre-trial review. Last June, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford, who was representing the former president, had gone to the Demerara Full Court to overturn Justice Singh's decision to waive the PTR and preside over the trial. The lawyer sent an email to Justice Singh indicating that his client did not consent to him being the PTR and case management conference judge. Pending its ruling, the full court comprising Justices Damon Young and Gino Prasad had in February of this year stayed Justice Singh's decision. However, the full court ruled that in the circumstances and for the reasons set out, the appeal is allowed, and the case be referred to Justice George for a judge to be assigned to conduct the PTR and for the CPR to be complied with. It was also ruled that at the conclusion of the PTR, the matter will be remitted to Justice Navindra Singh for a trial. In the lawsuit filed in 2021, the former president alleged that he was defamed in letters relating to the March 2020 general and regional elections and the events that unfolded. Those correspondences were then sent to several newspaper editors by Christopher Keith Nascimento, and they were later published in the respective newspapers. Claiming that his reputation was tarnished, former President Granger, in a 134-page statement of claim, accused Nascimento of launching and sustaining a series of defamatory attacks from March 2020 to August 2020 against him through opinions published by the newspapers. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Peter Bunting's name will never appear on another ballot paper for Central Manchester in Jamaica. The former Member of Parliament and party chairman of Manchester Central announced his desire to no longer represent the party in that constituency, which he lost to Rhoda May Crawford in 2020. Nasika Aliman of CVM Live reports.
Despite these chants by members in his constituency, former Member of Parliament and party chairman for Manchester Central, Senator Peter Bunting, says he will not be seeking re-election in the next general election.
This will be the last round of conferences, divisional and constituency conferences, where I'm the standard bearer with a chairman or MP. I share that with my constituency executive back in January.
Bunting endorses Mayor of Mandeville and Councillor for the Royal Flat Division, Donovan Mitchell, who previously announced his intention to represent the party as his replacement.
It's no secret, the last 3 years, we have not been as close as we always were. But I would say, tonight, I feel like the father who spot the prodigal son coming home. Donovan is fully back on the team. There is no one who can stop Central Manchester from returning to the world of the
Meanwhile, Bunting remains bullish with the Minister of National Security while addressing comments made during his sectoral debate regarding the downward trend in crime. Senator Bunting is adamant this reduction ought not be credited to states of emergency.
What we're beginning to see now is the benefit of the additional police personnel in the divisions that generate most of the violent crime. And what they need to do is focus on that. Stop this propaganda, this big lie about state of emergency. It is just a waste of resources and unnecessary suspension of people's constitutional rights.
Nasika Aliman reporting for CVM Live.
Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General says the findings of the judge in the matter of police officers having flown to Barbados to detain and bring Brent Thomas back to Trinidad and Tobago late last year raised serious concerns as to the constitutional propriety of actions of the Trinidad and Tobago police. This, as the AG also says, remarks made by the National Security Minister regarding the matter were not in any way meant to impugn the integrity of the judiciary of this country. TV6's Jewel Brown reports.
In a statement issued on Wednesday, Attorney General Reginald Amor explained that the Office of the Attorney General is the defendant in a judgment recently issued by the High Court in the matter Brent Thomas versus AGTT and DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions. Senior Counsel Amor said this is so because the Attorney General's office is constitutionally responsible for the defense of the state under the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. Last week, High Court Judge Devendra Rampersad ruled in the matter involving police officers having flown to Barbados late last year to detain Mr. Thomas with the cooperation of the Barbados Police Service and bring him back to this country. Justice Rampersad's judgment was critical of the police officers. The Police Complaints Authority has reportedly launched an investigation into the matter. Senior Counsel Amor said in his statement that as Attorney General, he acknowledges that the findings of the judge in that matter raise serious concerns as to the constitutional propriety of actions of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The AG also said that insofar as he is responsible for the defense of constitutional propriety of agents of the state, and on the matter having been brought to his attention, he has asked to be fully briefed on the facts of this matter and requested urgent advice on the merits of an appeal from lead counsel representing the Attorney General. The Attorney General also said on Wednesday that his attention has also been drawn to recent reported remarks made by National Security Minister Frederick Hines during a televised address to the nation on Monday. A.G. Amor said Minister Hines spoke in the main to the hard work of the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in the fight against crime and criminals in Trinidad and Tobago. However, the Attorney General also recalled the National Security Minister's remarks also touched on the judgment of the High Court in the Brent Thomas matter. The AG said that in the course of his general remarks, the minister made a statement that, quote, criminals have friends everywhere in this country, unquote, which statement could be interpreted inferentially to impact the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. Attorney General Amor said that in addition to having viewed the televised recording of the National Security Minister's media conference, he also has spoken with Minister Hines, and he is satisfied that it was not the intention of the National Security Minister in any way to impugn the integrity of the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago, either in any particular matter or generally. The Attorney General further said the Minister, like all members of the government, has a healthy respect for the integrity and exceptional competence of the judiciary. The AG said it is a fact, as he identified it, which is amply recorded as the government continues to seek to persuade the parliamentary opposition to support legislation to make the Caribbean Court of Justice, our judges, as he said it, our final court of appeal to replace the Judicial Committee. Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
The stand your ground law touted by the political leader of the United National Congress may not deter criminals, according to one attorney at law. In fact, Keith Scotland says it may tip the scales in the wrong direction. However, he suggests there may be a proper discussion and examination of the matter before decisions are made. Nicole M. Romney of TV6 News tells us more.
According to MP for Port of Spain South and attorney Keith Scotland, this law can impede the desired results and may just even add to the crime problem.
The learning says that it can lead to an increase in homicide and a more violent society. And these laws gives individual unfettered power and discretion, and it can raise the rate of violent crime in a society.
In fact, Mr. Scotland tells us the law, which originated in the United States, has not proved to reduce crime there and remains a matter of contention.
The American Bar Association found that the presence of this doctrine in place of a duty to retreat did not have a deterrent on serious crimes. there were even more incidents where the law enforcement actions were impeded because of the presence of this legislation.
He says there must be proper dialogue and assessment.
When you talk about the imposition or the bringing of new legislation, let's talk about it in a sober way, in a mature way. The effects of the Stand Your Ground legislation in the United States the effects are contentious as we speak. Why import something which effectiveness is clearly debatable in a country in which it has been in existence for over 100 years?
Mr. Scotland notes that while the opposition has publicly proposed this law, they have not submitted any drafts to the government. Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
Hubbards is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.